Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Thursday, July 21st, 2022. I am Brian. I'm just going to adjust this so that my lighting is a little bit better. I'm Brian, and I am here for some Managed Comics Thoughtstream actions. Howdy, howdy, Madness Comics. So I apologize for missing last week. I had a plan to have something because I wasn't going to be here physically, but I just ran out of time. I had a really crazy idea of doing kind of a watch along with something else that I had done previously, and I kind of ran out of time to build it. BD Cosmos says hi. Hi. So if anybody has questions to ask, I only have like a half dozen questions that I kind of put together. Been working real hard on something very exciting, which I'm going to show you momentarily. And I guess we'll just kind of get into things. So let's do our kind of our housekeeping out of the way in the beginning. So make sure you like, thumbs up, whatever, smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Helps the algorithm. Same goes for if you're watching this on Facebook. Like it and share it with your friends and tell everyone about it. The more people who know about Managed Comics, the more awesome things we can do. Follow us on Instagram. We've been doing some really fun things over on Instagram, and I think you'll enjoy what we're doing. Right now, we're kind of featuring a new shop every week, and I can't remember. I actually planned these things out quite a while in advance, so I'm not exactly sure who we did this week. And it was this morning. I haven't actually checked into who I promoted. And that's not good. Just give me 1 second here. All right, this morning was Lobo Comics and Games. So Lobo Comics and Toys is I think they're in New Mexico. Shop in New Mexico. And they've been with us since, they were, I think, the third or fourth Managed Comics Classic shop. So I need to reach out to them and convince them to move over to 2.0 because 2.0 is so much better. Hey, Nick from Comic Culture. Good afternoon. My LCS just switched over. So we're all learning the system on the front end. Well, welcome, Nick. Happy to talk. And if you've got any questions about how things work, we'll talk about them. We are coming to Illinois in August. We're going to Chicago for C2E2. So we'll be there on Sunday, July 7th. We're going to tour some shops on Monday, July 8th and Tuesday, July 9th. And we're looking forward to seeing our friends. And it's in the air right now. I may actually arrive on Saturday. I'm not sure. We're going to take the train out of Port Huron, and the train leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we'll see what makes more sense. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been working on. So we've added series names in the back end, which has been a really interesting kind of my dates don't line up. Why don't my dates line up? Oh, those are July. I meant August. That's funny. Yeah, so those should all say July. So say August, not July. Well, I could tell you why all that's happening, but you really don't need to know my personal life like that. Let's just say there's painkillers involved right now. Alrighty. Let us go through our Geek Fetch updates. So we've added series codes. And one of the things, series titles. So Nightwing 2016. And this is because you'll find often that like Nightwing was something we were having a problem with for quite a while, that people were trying to add Nightwing to people's lists, but it was actually showing Nightwing number 83. And after doing some deep delving, I found out that was like the old Nightwing pre-Rebirth series. So weird. So we've kind of revised that now so that when you create when you're going to see the actual series name in a lot more places. So we've started that kind of on the back end under subscriptions. you'll see the actual series name with a date after it. And we're kind of going through adjusting these as we need to. There were only probably, I would say, like 20 comics we actually had to worry about, because our data goes back to 2009. So there's only about 20 comics that existed before 2009 that have legacy numbering. Spawn, Savage Dragon. There's a few DCs like Action, Detective. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of it. So it was a pretty easy thing. But you may occasionally see some dates that don't quite line up with what you're thinking they should. Just submit a help ticket, and we'll fix those up. Improving the POS experience, and this is kind of fun. I'm going to actually show you how this works in action. If you're using Shopify point of sale, this will be a big change for you, and actually will be really cool. I'm going to change this guy. Okay, so this is actually Shopify point of sale right now. And one of the things you'll notice here is we've got this Manage Comics to POS. So this is the Manage Comics to point of sale system. And from this, I can actually find all the orders. So all draft orders or orders that have been placed. And if I look up somebody, geez, I don't know who to look up off the top of my head. But, somebody comes in. Is there a Brian? Let's find out if Brian's in there. No, there's no Brian. Dang it. But somebody comes in and they say that they want to check out their, by the way, this is QA still. They want to check out their books. So get their books in. I'll pull up Arthur Curry's books. So he had a Flashpoint Beyond, and I can go ahead and add that right to the cart. Now we're going to see a small little problem here that's going to get fixed very shortly. So the thing that didn't happen is the discount didn't get put into the order when we placed that order. So yeah, we got to do a little bit of QA on that, but otherwise the order came through, and now I can check that person out. And then the other thing that I've got to get the guys to add is just the ability for me to remove that from the cart and place it back into the Manage Comics order, which we don't have the ability to do right now, but I think we'll be able to do that. Yeah, so then I check them out and we're good to go. So this is in kind of final QA. We've got a couple little bugs that I've discovered today, which will be relatively easy to fix up. And then this item will go through the Shopify QA process. Pop this back here. Nick says, is this an appropriate forum for random app questions, or is it more for information only? No, this is absolutely, this is for questions. This is exactly what it's for. So it's all about answering questions. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I've just created a bunch in advance because sometimes there's probably a 16 to 30 second delay. So sometimes it takes a while for stuff to get in, and we end up with dead air. So this way we'll have no dead air. I'm going to just move a couple things around because my fancy new light that I got, which is great, is not pointing in the right direction. And I'm going to increase the brightness on that guy. There, that's a little bit better. But yeah, Nick, by all means, if you have questions, ask away. I used series names twice. So what we're working on next, as you know, you can go to the roadmap.managecomics.com. That's roadmap.managecomics.com. The next two projects are still improving the POS, Manage Comics integration, how-to videos for customers. I'd also like to, I've reached out to BinderPause. I'd like to do something the way that we've done with Manage Comics, or for Shopify POS. I'd like to have that same functionality in BinderPause if possible. So I'm hoping to kind of figure out how to do that with BinderPause. I think that'd be super cool. How-to videos for customers. I think I'll talk about that in a second. Escape Velocity asks, Will the new POS feature allow you to throw, say, just a few items back? Say, person has 10 comics in their file and picks up 8, or is it all or nothing? So that's a great question. The way that we would recommend you do it is that's a good question. Let me see. Let's pull this up. Ted Cord has 2 things. So that's a great question. Can I just say if I X that? So the way this should be is there should be 2 things, a check mark and an X, and a check mark would add it to the cart. X would remove it from the order completely. So guy comes in and says, I don't actually want this Flashpoint Beyond. If I click that to remove it, that will remove it completely from everything, from the order completely. It will also restore it to the to your stock. Now, well, that's fun, isn't it? As I said, like literally QA started today, so we're definitely going to see some fun things with orders not quite happening properly. Let's go back to Ted Cord. So that didn't look like it worked. So I think what we should do is have check marks next to this, and by default they'd all be checked and everything would go into your cart. If you uncheck something, it would not go into the cart and it would stay behind. So in this example, this guy came in and decided he wanted to pick up Batman, Catwoman, I Am Batman, but doesn't want to pick up Flashpoint Beyond this week. We would just uncheck Flashpoint Beyond and move those 2 items into the cart. I think that makes sense. Yes, check mark to throw back or X to remove would be ideal. Still awesome feature either way. So we can add all these items to the cart. Like I said, it's not bringing in the discount right now, which the guys know and they're working on right now. So hopefully we'll get that fixed. This is the other problem is you have to make sure your cart is clear before you do this, because I'm now checking out something that was already in my cart. So I'll have to remove one of those. And now I can check out. So I'm going to clear that cart so I don't screw that up. Nick asks, when I pre-order a specific cover, not subscribing to the series, and I want to cancel that pre-order before FOC, can I? I only see a delete option on series I sub to, but not on single cover orders. So Nick, the only way to do that right now is to talk to your store and have them remove something. In theory, you should be able to remove something before FOC that you've pre-ordered, but we don't have that ability right now, because honestly, it doesn't happen a lot, and individual customers talk to their store owners to figure that stuff out right now. Good question, though. Keep them coming, Nick. Happy to answer more. So yeah, the next part will be adding the series names on the front end. Right now, we only have them on the admin and kind of in the data era. So this will be next up, is getting it on the front end. So it says Nightwing 2016. I think right now it still just says Nightwing with no kind of year after it. We're also working on the customer-facing videos. So I've been building some customer-facing videos to help customers understand how different things work. I think I've recorded 3 or 4 of these so far, and now we just have to figure out how to kind of get those things into the site in kind of an easy way, so that they're unobtrusive but also helpful. I had actually looked at adding like a JavaScript kind of thing that will walk somebody through how everything works, but I feel like it's a little overkill. The whole idea of managed comics is supposed to be that it's easy for somebody to figure out how to use fairly quickly. And if we're not doing that, I'd rather focus on fixing our usability than creating new problems. We'll be adding the storylines to the front end. So we've been dealing with the data for storylines for about 3 months now. We've got a ton of really good data going on behind the scenes. Now we just have to make them visible on the front end, and you'll see as a customer that a comic is part of a storyline, and it'll show up in your subscriptions thing. I'm big studio changes. I'm doing a bunch of changes behind me. I'm finally going to fix my microphone issue. I've actually got a really, really expensive microphone stand on order that's low profile and will come up from the bottom and not affect my lighting. I'm also re-rigging the entire lighting thing. I went to school for television production, and this part has always kind of bothered me, that it doesn't look as good as what I'd like it to. So yeah, we'll see some big changes. I've actually got like 60 feet of LED channel down there that is going to be going all up in my LEDs. I'm pretty excited about that. One of the things people have asked for is the option to do prepayment on pre-orders. So, for example, somebody orders a $300 statue, you're going to want to get a percentage of that in before. There's apps out there like Globo Pre-orders that will do this for you, but you're already paying for Managed Comics, so why don't we just do that, and we can track it a lot better than what Globo Pre-orders can track it. So the idea will be you'll create an order for something like, or somebody will place a pre-order on, let's just say absolute death metal, and you're going to ask for 50% of that upfront. So then it will create an order with 50% deposit. When the product comes in, Managed Comics will know that that order is tied to that product and will take off the 50%, so $75 of the $150. And then your customer will get invoiced for the rest of it on their list, and it will say that the amount was applied beforehand. This will be entirely optional and entirely set up by you and at tiers and things, and you'll be able to like choose which types of products that require a pre-order payment and all that good stuff as well. So yeah, I see a couple questions here. Even though it's pre-FOC for the customer to remove, so this is kind of going back to Nick's question. Even though it's pre-FOC for the customer to remove, the store probably already committed. So someone removing something 25 minutes before FOC doesn't make much sense for a store perspective. So I guess, Nick, that's one of the big things, is that Managed Comics is designed to, empower customers to order things, but also protect store owners from losing out on money, because they're committing their money to this stuff all the time. And the number one way to lose stores is for pre-orders to not go picked up, or subscriptions and things. Like, it's devastating when somebody doesn't buy one copy of a comic, they have to sell 2 copies of it just to break even on that. And that's something I think a lot of customers don't really realize. Nick says the use case for the question was, I didn't want a number 2 or number 3 of a book, and FOC is still coming up, so it wasn't last minute, but I understand the issue there. Yeah, again, like if you're pre-ordering something, you're committing to that issue. So if you don't want to pre-order a number 3 or the number 2, don't place that pre-order until you know you want it. And I understand that this is really hard from a customer perspective. We are committing as retailers to books that often we haven't seen the first issue, and we're already FOCing the 3rd issue. Like, it's so ridiculous right now between all of the pandemic restrictions and everything else that's going on. So yeah, I like the FOC locking feature. Got it. Thanks. No worries, Nick. All right. Office hours questions. Everyone asks, why is the information so frequently wrong? What are you guys doing that makes everything so terrible? So we update the data twice a week on Mondays and Fridays, and sometimes we do it on Wednesdays too. I update the data Yeah, probably closer to 3 times a week, and then we go through and review the more than 500 products that get added every week. There's an additional 2,500 SKUs that we add once a month when the new catalogs come in, and we're reviewing that data daily. Just the other day, I did a query on a bunch of data because I had a suspicion something was wrong, and we found 325 items that have one of 4 essential fields that are wrong. So our essential fields are UPC and ISBN, distributor code, which actually I didn't put here, so there's actually 5 of them, the title, the product type, and the issue sequence number for comics. Um, so there were 314 items in this July's catalog that have an improper issue sequence number, which means that when those issues come out, it's going to screw up ordering. You're going to be placing an order for the cover B, and it's actually the cover C that you're ordering, and things like that. We fix those issues before the initial orders get placed. So by this time, well, by tomorrow, all of our data for July usually gets done like last week. This all would have get done. I forgot to run the query, and Ivan's been frantically fixing the data all week. So this is actually part of our checklist, and it's just one of the checklist items that I missed. And luckily, Ivan caught it last week, and we resolved it. So yeah, data is straight up wrong a surprisingly large number of times, and we are aware of this. The distributors are aware of it. Publishers are aware of it. We've brought it up so many times. I'm part of a data working group. We're part of Comics Pro, so we're reviewing this with Comics Pro as well. Yeah, it's a problem, and everyone knows it's a problem. And I think there should be a couple of news articles coming out about this soon in the comics press, because we've brought this up with a couple fairly significant players in comics news, and I'm hoping that if we get enough attention on it, that people will see that this is a huge problem. And it takes a lot for them to understand why it's a big problem. Like, why is the fact that, I don't know, the information about an upcoming cover such an important thing to get right earlier in the process? But when you're basing your orders on information and that information is wrong, I mean, there's some question of, like, certainly the morality of it. Should you be forced to order something that has blatantly wrong information on it? But there's definitely, like, the business question about why is this happening? Like, it just shouldn't be happening. Let me. Nick asks, is there a way to see if you're already pre-ordered a book on the FOC page? What I do now is open a bunch of tabs to manually look for that pre-order note. Having something on the FOC page would be nice. Well, like, everything is in your My Subscriptions page. If you click on the My Subscriptions tab, you'll see any of your subscriptions that you currently have. And that includes pre-orders. I mean, I won't lie, we could definitely do some work on that page. Just see if I can pop open. Stop that screen. Share the screen. So on your My Subscriptions page, you'll see all the pre-orders you have. So if you have a whole ton of pre-orders, they'll all show up there. So My Subscriptions is this link right here, which you definitely should be checking out. I think we'll probably do some filtering on this at some point so that pre-orders can be filtered out differently than your subscriptions and your series and your soon-to-be storylines. All right. Next question. Robert asks, why are old trade paperbacks coming up for order? So, and we've had this from a few people. I think Julian and Rachel asked this as well. We recently rebuilt our Geek Fetch data system. And in doing that, we had to kind of divorce. We had to separate macro information, which is stuff about the actual book, which we could actually get from a number of different places. For example, when Bad Idea was a going concern, we would actually get Bad Idea information directly from Bad Idea, and then we would post it. And sometimes there was a diamond code, sometimes there wasn't. But that was kind of its own thing, right? So now one of the things that data used to have was like an offered again or a resolicitation, I think, flag. When we kind of divorced our information from that, we lost the offered again flag. And honestly, this just this would have happened at some point anyway because we didn't update the offered again flag over time. So a great example is the Dark Knight Gallery edition from Graffiti Designs. That thing has like, I think last time I checked, 21 different month codes in it. So you guys see this microphone? It just drives me insane that it drops down into my field of view over time. I'm getting back to the Dark Knight Gallery edition. It has 21 things. So at some point there was an offered again flag on that. So if somebody was subscribed to Dark Knight Gallery editions, which isn't really a thing, but if they were in theory, it would have gotten pulled again at some point for people. So a better example would be when we started Managed Comics a year ago, all of the saga trade paperbacks had come out previously. So they all had offered again flags on them. But now that Saga is coming out again, those offered again flags are being ignored. So that's why we've got a solution for it. So we're actually tagging the offered again onto the month code. So anytime that a book gets offered again, it'll have the tag on it, and it'll not show up in subscriptions for things. That will get fixed this week. It's in QA. I just have to approve it and force it through. James asked, how do I check out customers with binder pause? So they use binder pause to check customers out. What's the best way to check them out and make sure the orders are resolved? Great question. So if you go to customer orders and then search for the customer you're looking for. So in this case, I can't really see these things, but I think Bruce Wayne here is on the top. I'll click on Bruce Wayne's order, and then I can actually select the items that I want to check out for Bruce Wayne this week. So those 5 items. And then I'll click on fulfill and restock. And what that will actually do is take those quantities out of the subscription quantity and throw them into the regular stock quantity. It takes about 3 to 5 seconds. And then you can manually check those books out at your cash register with your binder pause and your little scanny scan. And that will do it. Anybody have any other questions while we're sitting around? I wonder if there's anything else I can show that we've done recently. We've been working on some really cool kind of behind the scenes things. See if there's anything ready to showcase. And there's a bunch of little kind of tweaks that we're making right now. We're fixing, I've got a plan in place now to finally fix all of the weird characters that are showing up for different things. We actually narrowed down what the 2 characters are. Really, really weird. There's like there's an apostrophe that is using some sort of weird code, and there's an ellipses. And we found out it's not just DC. There's also some Penguin Random House stuff in there that is being affected by that. So there's some sorting stuff that we're fixing with all subscriptions. Regenerating series code or series titles was breaking something on the Geek Fetch side of the fence. Offered again, which is in QA, and I just have to approve it. Oh yeah, there's a whole nightmare with so we've started adding Diamond UK information, but Diamond UK actually had the dates backwards, so that actually screwed up a bunch of FOCs until we started ignoring that data. Um, so we actually have to just change the way that Diamond UK data is coming in. Nick from Comic Culture asks, "Can I sub to a series and pick A for 1, B for 2, C for 3?" I see the ability to sub and get A only and B if A is gone. So yeah, we don't have the ability for you to subscribe to anything other than an A or a B cover right now. And I shouldn't say right now, we will never have anything other than an A or B cover. And if the B cover is a ratioed variant, then it essentially doesn't exist. We are going to add the ability at some point to do something that I call slip streaming, which means you'll be subscribed to Nightwing and you can say month over month which cover you want. So by default, your subscription is to cover A, but maybe next month you want the cover B, maybe the third month you want the cover C. We'll let you choose that. But right now, we don't have that ability in play. And then there's going to have to be some rules around it too, so that if 1 month you want the 1 in 10 variant, there may be a price premium on that. So the store will have to be able to lock that in and figure that out as well. I totally recognize that that's a thing. It's really complicated to code that. There's a lot of these things that people are like, why don't you do this? And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you start looking into like, oh, what do we have to do to code that? Oh, okay. And then usually my development team talks me out of the idea pretty quickly. But this one I think is really important, and we'll definitely do it. It's just a little bit tough to kind of implement, and the checks and balances around it are hard. Yeah, a lot of the stuff we're working on right now is around FOC dates. By the way, we're going to change that on the customer front end to just say last call. And we should have done that a couple of weeks ago. I just didn't push that change through. But last call brackets FOC. So people will still know that it's the final order cutoff. Most people that you talk to don't understand what the FOC even means. And a lot of retailers we've talked to don't even know what FOC means. And the number of retailers who actually don't do final order cutoff adjustments is kind of staggering to me. I'm always surprised by it, but I would say it's probably at least half of the retailers we talk to don't do final order cutoff adjustments. And there's probably 20% of the retailers we talk to who don't even do initial orders at all. They just do final order adjustments, which I don't understand that one, because there's an entire like back half of the catalog that you can't order anything other than initial. So yeah, Julian, staggering indeed, at least half my week. I know, it's crazy. Ordering is, and it's gotten harder. We're really going to work on trying to make it simpler for you guys in the next few months. A lot of the tools that we're working on building are around orders and getting the information better and better organized. I think very soon we'll have information that's at least as good as the distributors, and I'm hoping at some point to have information that's better than the way that the distributors present it to you. And I think that shouldn't be too hard. Most of their systems are kind of stuck in the mid 90s. Anybody else have any questions for us? If you don't, I'm going to wrap things up in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Let's see, what's my next? So we're taking Managed Comics on the road. So we were supposed to go to GTA and Hamilton in July, but we didn't actually get out of the city. Definitely going to Chicago in August, and we're still looking at upstate New York in September. That's a lie. Next time, actually, so I've actually prepped the next 4 weeks worth of Thoughtstreams, and next week is going to be tips and tricks. So we're going to be kind of going through a bunch of different things that when we've walked people through them, they've been surprised you can do those things. So I'm thinking there might be a bunch of kind of tips and tricks. Somebody's selling me Superior Spider-Man Completes 1 and 2 for $80. Wow. Wow, that's awesome. Man, Superior Spider-Man is one of my favorite Spider-Man runs of all time. That's so great. So just remember, vote on so vote on features. So go to roadmap.managecomics.com and add features or vote on the features. If you find something that you like in there, I'll be honest, I don't love the format of our feature request thing. I've looked at other options for maybe changing it up a bit. It's just the tool that I have right now, so we'll keep on using it. But yeah, if you have feature requests, make sure you get in there and vote on those and let people know. Review the roadmap. So you can go to roadmap.managecomics.com. You can see what we're working on at a glance. You'll see what's recently been done. And you can click on the roadmap to see what we're currently working on. You can click on changelog to see anything that we've recently released. So that will do it there. Nick, you feel free to ask questions. I'll take tons of questions. If they're client-side questions, those are great because they help us to figure out, the things that we need to do to make the client side better. And we prioritize those outside of the regular scope of like changing things for stores. Because honestly, there are things that I'll usually kind of mock up and make sure they make sense before we do them. Whereas a lot of the store requests are things that we have to do a lot of business logic around and make sure that the business logic flows properly. Front end changes are relatively simple. So if there's something that doesn't make sense to you, by all means, bring it up and we'll look at it. But Nick, what is comic culture? Is that a podcast? Yep. Comic culture is a YouTube channel. Oh, interesting. Cool. I'll have to check this out. Oh, and you're with Cadets Toys. Cool. Yeah. They're good dudes. So that's very cool that you're starting to use them. Well, Nick, maybe we can talk, and I'll show up as a special guest on your YouTube channel. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thanks so much for your time, and we will talk to you next week. Next week, we're going to talk tips and tricks, and yeah, we'll catch you then. This would have been so much slicker if I would have actually had the thank you video ready to go right now.